This is Terry Cross, and I want to bring you a few words of encouragement today. I've had several people who have asked that we do this for them and share a little bit of encouragement. I got up this morning and I got dressed for church, even though we did not have a church that we could go to or physically attend. I don't know how you are, but it just makes me feel better to get dressed up. And it helped me to feel more like it was Sunday. But we did, as many of you did, we attended church online today. And I want to thank all of the pastors and the worship leaders, the singers, the staff members, the camera people, all of those that are doing such a wonderful job of putting their services online and sharing it with their parishioners, and also the other people that tune in and get to watch and listen to the worship service. The Apostle Paul said in Colossians chapter 2, he said that his purpose or his goal was that the people might be encouraged in heart. And we're all needing words of encouragement right now. I know that we're all facing the challenges of these difficult times that we're living in, difficult times in our nation, difficult times in our world, and it even brings difficulty into our homes and our families. It has affected all of us. I know that it has affected Connie and me. We are doing as you are. We're sheltering in place, trying to stay busy, doing all kinds of projects around the house and around the yard. We're getting a lot of spring cleaning done and some uncluttering done. Connie's hours have been cut, but do you know what? We're going to make it. We are going to make it by the grace of God. And I want to tell you a story. 18 months ago, I contracted a deadly disease called meningitis. I don't know how I contracted that disease. We've never been able to find out or understand whether it was bacterial or whether it was viral. The doctors tried to ascertain what it was, and since they were not able to, they said they had to treat me for both. I was admitted to Baylor Hospital in Waxahachie, Texas, and I was experiencing terrible pain, extreme pain and suffering. I felt like my head was going to burst open for several days on end, and I was running high fevers, and I was being treated with all kinds of antibiotics as the doctors tried to bring this sickness under control. I had all kinds of things done to me. I had MRIs done. I had a brain scan done. I had a spinal tap done. In fact, that was just such an awful experience. I actually passed out during that process. They had to abort the process. They had to start it over again. I remember telling Connie, she was looking right at me, and I said to her while they were doing that spinal tap, I said, I feel faint. And I had no more gotten those words out of my mouth. And she said my eyes just glazed over and my head fell over. And she said, my eyes never closed. It scared her to death. She thought I had died right in front of her. Because there I was, my head had fallen over, my eyes were still just standing open, but I was totally out. And they had to revive me, and they had to take care of Connie. They told her she had to leave the room, and she said, I can't even move at all. She was so terrified. But it was an awful experience that we went through. I remember one night, nearly at midnight, when they transported me by ambulance to Big Baylor in Dallas so that I could get treatment from a neurosurgeon. I remember the day that one doctor came into my room and said, well, Mr. Cross, he said, we believe you've turned a corner. He said, we believe you're going to make it. I never had considered not making it. It had never entered my mind that I would not survive this ordeal. But then, sometime after the doctor had left the room, and after Connie had also stepped out of the room, our daughter Janelle told me, she said, "Dad, I want to tell you something." She said, "I didn't want Mother to hear this, but she said, I think you would want to know." She said, "I have been reading about meningitis, and she said, I have learned that when people of your age contract meningitis, it's 90% fatal." So, folks, I want to tell you, I am just grateful that God was with me. In fact, I get a little emotional just talking about it, but He never left me. Connie was with me. Our daughter Janelle came from Wichita Falls. She was there with me. Our daughter Michelle called numerous times every day from North Carolina. She was checking on me, praying for me. Their family was praying. People everywhere were praying. People were calling. They were texting. They were just reaching out to us. A number of people came to visit me. And even those who came to visit me, they had to gown up and mask up and put gloves on to come into my room. And it was quite a trying time. My grandson, Aiden, who was about 20 years old at the time and attending college in the state of Virginia, called me while I lay there in the hospital bed. And he said, "Grandpa, I want to pray for you. But," he said, "first, I want to give you a scripture." A nurse was in the room there while this was happening. And I really believe that Aiden quoted this scripture the way it sounded over the phone. Habakkuk chapter 3, verses 17 and 18. He said, "Though the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall fruit be on the vines, the labor of the olive shall fail, and the fields shall yield no meat. The flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herds in the stalls. Yet will I rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation." Then he prayed the most beautiful prayer. Connie and I had tears in our eyes. The nurse had tears in her eyes. And that nurse said, she said, "That's the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed." And I'm so glad that I'm here today to tell you that I made it through all of that. Thanks be to God. I'm healthy. I'm strong today with no after effects. I'm glad to say I survived meningitis. The devil meant it for my harm, but God brought me through it. And I told you that story so that you and I both would be reminded of the faithfulness of God. God is always faithful. I know that I was very sick at that time, even as our nation is very sick right now. The world is sick. I'm appalled at the condition, not only physically and physical sickness with all of this awful COVID-19 virus, but I'm appalled at the spiritual sickness that is rampant in our nation, in our world. We are in need of a revival. We're in need of a revival of faith. We're in need of a revival of godliness. But I want you to know something. God is with us. And He has promised us He will not forsake us. So I want you to take courage today. I want you to walk in courage and live in courage, because God is with us and He will not forsake us or leave us alone. So God bless you, my friends. We love you, and I trust that you are encouraged.